Today's review I wouldn't even call a game. It's more of a experimental kaleidoscopic art tool, and it's called Sfäre. It's come out today on Steam, and it's highly experimental, but really interesting if it scratches a certain itch for you, for which it did for me. Now, I am an old soul, and I remember when I first got onto PC, I used to enjoy playing my MP3s with the Windows Media Player visualizer on, so that I could see all the weird kind of effects and stuff flying around the screen. And Sfäre brings me right the way back to that idea. On the screen, you have in the corner of the screen 4 little rotating balls, a little bit like dials on a Etch-a-Sketch. And what you can do with these is click and drag around them, or if you've got a touch screen, which is how this game I think is best played, you can rotate and change and drag the balls around so that it manipulates the digital pixel art that's on the screen in front of you. Some of it will change the colour hues, some of it will change the direction and pattern and the velocity of where those digital pixels and particles are going. Some of it will add bloom, some of it will distort things, and just depending on how you rotate and manipulate all of those balls around will give you tons and tons and tons of different digital art patterns that you can watch kind of float in and out of the screen. It's really hypnotic. It's designed to be almost like a music visualizer, but also like a hypnotic tool as well. Very niche, but quite fun to play with. Where I then started to enjoy it was that not only do you have those 4 balls in the corner, but you have these little double arrows, as you can see in the top middle and on the right hand side middle. Those add and take away mirrors, which means that your kind of geometric shapes start to become even more fragmented or fractalized, and things start to get really, really crazy. And as you're zooming in and out or moving like mirrors or crossing overs of things back and forth, you can get into some really crazy art, which highly experimental, very niche, but good fun because there's just so many layers for you to unpack and play around with and muck about with. Really good fun. Once you've got used to all of these different settings, there's like an extended advanced mode where you can dive in and be really granular in the types of things that you want to change and evolve. Some of those will be around changing the shapes of the pixels or the patterns that they initially take on before you start putting random mirrors everywhere and changing the focus and zoom of stuff. And you can really get into high granularity in trying to create crazy pixel particle art. All of this is then exportable or savable as like your favourites that you can then dive back into, and this for me starts to become a crazy like screenshot or screensaver show, which is where I found myself going with this. The game also comes with a chilled out soundtrack, and kind of what I was thinking was a little bit of a tiny missed opportunity is that I really wanted the experience to sync with the music so that it moved along at the same BPM or reacted to the music that was going on. Because what I found that I was doing when playing around with Sfäre was that I was muting the actual music in the game and then playing my own music alongside it so that I could have like a zen relaxed experience, or a chaotic one if I had like rock on, then I'd be like putting in really jarring colours everywhere and changing up all the palettes and so on. And that's really the huge extent of where Sfäre goes to. As I said, extremely niche. There's one other additional mode that this game comes with, which I thought was really quite cool, albeit it's in its kind of formative foundations, and that's a streamer mode. You can bring up a QR code and place it on the corner of your screen, and anyone who's got a QR reader on their phone can scan that and then be given a remote access panel to change something on your art screen live in real time and change something once a minute. Now you can have multiple people in playing around at the same time. But I thought that was a really interesting way to try and bring experimental art into a live stream that's also interactive. Now, you could do all of the different like changes of colours, or moving the zoom around, or rotating one of the patterns 90 degrees or something like that, and just seeing what would come out. There's always a little bit of fluffy looseness to whatever you're doing, because you aren't able to give exact mathematical equations to replicate something again and again and again. But that's part of the fun, is going and experimenting and seeing what would happen. And I think in a streamer mode, being able to do all of that together and exploring that, if you've got like-minded people who get into this kind of trippy visualization, I think that could be quite fun. So yeah, extremely niche. Only a few people will be interested in this, but I found it oddly cathartic, and it reminded me a little bit of Baby Universe on the PlayStation 1, which was also like a visualizer for music, but just back in the PS1 days, and this feels like a much more nuanced and heavily editable version of that in 2022. Sfäre is out today. Written review will be over on higherplayinggames.com later on this week. Apologies for my terrible voice. I'm really deep ill with COVID at the moment, so I hope that was still informative. If you've got questions or comments about the tool, drop them down below and I'll get back to you. Cheers.
Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.